So welcome back to my mini lecture video. So for today's discussion, we're going to talk about ecosystem, biomes, and species. Everything in the natural world is connected. Plants and animals depend on each other to survive. This connection of living things to each other is called biodiversity. These plants and animals within an area interact with each other and with the non-living elements of the area such as climate, water, soil, and so on. All of these things happen in part of the ecosystem. An ecosystem is a community of plants, animals, and smaller organisms that live, feed, reproduce, and interact in the same area or environment. Or, ecosystem is a community of living and non-living things considered as a unit. Also, ecosystem is a complex set of relationships among the living resources, habitats, and residents of an area. This includes plants, trees, animals, fishes, birds, microorganisms, air, water, soil, and people. An ecosystem will fail if they do not remain in balance. Ecology. This term is coined by Ernst Haeckel in 1869. It is derived from Greek words oikos means home and logos means study. Ecology is the study of organisms in their natural home interacting with their surroundings. Also, ecology is the scientific study of the relationship that living organisms have with each other and with their natural environment. In other words, ecology is the study of ecosystem. There are four functions of ecosystem. First, habitat functions. Ecosystem provide habitat to wild plants and animals and thus conserve biological and genetic diversity. It also supports different food chains. Second, production functions. Production of wide range of goods ranging from food to raw materials. Third, regulatory functions. Ecosystem regulates essential ecological processes and life support system and renders stability. It is also responsible for cycling of nutrients between abiotic and biotic components. It has also provide many services that have direct and indirect benefits to humans. Examples are clean air, water, and soil. And fourth, information functions. Ecosystem provide essential reference function and contribute to the maintenance of human health by providing opportunities for spiritual enrichment, cognitive development, recreation, and aesthetic experience. There are two components of ecosystem, the biotic and abiotic components. Let us first discuss biotic components. This abiotic component of ecosystem refers to the large life forms such as trees or mammals, small life forms such as insect and algae, and microscopic life forms such as bacteria. Biotic means a living factors. For examples are plants, animals, fungi, and bacteria are all biotic or living factors. Producers, most important components of ecosystem. Producers are organisms which are able to manufacture organic compounds from inorganic substances from their environment. Producers are also known as autotrophs. It is derived from Greek words autos, meaning self, and trop, meaning nourishment. Producers extract nutrients from soil or ocean and manufacture their own foods using photosynthesis. In the presence of carbon dioxide and sunlight, and so energy from sun powers the base of food chain. Producers are also known as primary producers. But there is an exemption occurs in deep sea hydrothermal ecosystem where there is no sunlight. Here, the primary producers manufacture food through a process called chemosynthesis. Chemosynthesis is a process of certain organisms use to produce energy, akin to photosynthesis, but without the utilization of sunlight. The energy comes from the oxidation of chemicals which seep out from the Earth's crust. Producers are either photoautotrophs or chemoautotrophs. Consumers. Consumers are organisms that obtain nutrients by consuming other organisms. These organisms are formally referred to as heterotrophs. It is derived from Greek words hetero meaning another and trop meaning nourishment. Heterotroph is an organism that cannot synthesize their own food and must obtain it ready-made. They can be herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, or detritivores. Herbivores, animals who derive their required energy directly from consuming the plants and plants only. They are also known as primary consumer. Herbivores have special digestive systems that let them digest all kinds of plants, including grasses. Examples of herbivores are rabbit, cattle, horse, sheep, insect, and many more. Carnivores are animals that feed on other animals. They are also known as secondary consumer. Carnivores generally eat herbivores, but occasionally eat other carnivores, also tertiary consumer. Example of carnivores are lion, tiger, cats, birds of prey, shark, frogs, and many more. Omnivores are animals that feed on both plants and animals. Omnivores often are opportunistic, general feeders with neither carnivores nor herbivores, a specialization for acquiring or processing food, and are capable of consuming and do consume both animal protein and vegetation. Many omnivores depend on a suitable mix of animal and plant food for long-term good health and reproduction. Examples of omnivores are humans, bear, and many more. Detritivores are animals who feed on dead plant and animal matter, but perform an additional function which is to return essential nutrients back to the ecosystem in the process. They are essential for recycling of nutrients. Without them, dead plant material would not be returned to the soil for new growth. This waste contains nutrients which are thus returned to the soil, facilitating new plant growth, or made easier for other organisms to consume. By breaking down dead matter in smaller pieces, detritivores speed up the process of decomposition. Examples of detritivores are worms, millipedes, sea stars, crabs, and dung flies. Decomposers. These are microorganisms which break down organic matter into inorganic compounds and derive their nutrients in the process. Decomposers break down complex compounds into simple compounds without eating them. Also, these are organisms that aid in the decomposition of already dead or dying organisms. For example, fungi can grow on organic matter, such as a dead tree trunk or a piece of bread, and breaks it down and absorbing the nutrients without eating the wood or bread. Decomposers secrete enzymes to digest organic matter and then absorb resulting molecules. Examples of decomposers are bacteria, fungi, and many more. Abiotic components of ecosystem. The non-living materials in an ecosystem such as minerals, gases, liquids, and chemicals are referred to as abiotic or non-biotic factors. Abiotic meaning not alive, or are non-living factors that affect living organisms. Environmental factors such as in habitat, pond, lake, ocean, desert, mountain, or weather such as temperature, cloud cover, rain, snow, hurricanes, and many more are abiotic factors. There are two types of abiotic components, the physical components and the chemical components. Physical components refer to abiotic factors such as sunlight, water, air, temperature, rainfall, soil texture, wind speed, direction, and many more. While on chemical components, that's referred to abiotic factor such as carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, iron, copper, zinc, and many more. Energy flows in an ecosystem. And the flow of energy in an ecosystem is governed by the following cycles: water cycle, carbon cycle, oxygen cycle, nitrogen cycle, and energy cycle. The integration of cycles in nature are very important because all these cycles are responsible for maintenance of life on Earth. If mankind disturbs these cycles beyond the limits that nature can sustain, they will eventually break down and lead to a degraded Earth on which man will not be able to survive. Food chain. Food chain is the sequence of who eats whom in a biological community to obtain nutrients. Also, food chain shows how each living things get food and how nutrients and energy are passed from creature to creature. Food web. In nature, food chain relationships are not isolated. Rather, they are complex because one organism may form the food source of many organisms. Thus, instead of a simple linear food chain, there is a web-like structure formed by these interlinked food chains, and such interconnected matrix of food chain is called food web. A food web is many food chains linked together to show a more accurate model of all possible feeding relationship of organism in an ecosystem. Food webs are indispensable in ecosystem as they allow an organism to obtain its food from more than one type of organism of the lower trophic level. Trophic level. Trophic level is the group of organisms within an ecosystem which occupy the same level in a food chain, each of which differs in its nutritional relationship with the primary energy source. The primary energy source in any ecosystem is the sun, although there are an exception in deep sea ecosystem. We could also say that trophic level is a feeding level within ecosystem. And there are four levels in trophic levels. First level consists of producers. The second level consists of primary consumers. The third level consists of secondary consumers, and the fourth level consists of tertiary consumers. Ecological pyramids. Ecological pyramids is a diagram that shows the relative amount of energy or organisms contained within each trophic level of a food chain or web. There are three types of ecological pyramids: the pyramid of biomass, pyramid of numbers, and the pyramid of energy. Pyramid of biomass. The total amount of matter present in organisms of an ecosystem at each trophic level is biomass. In other words, the total amount of living or organic matter in an ecosystem at any time is called biomass. Biomass means the mass of living material at a stage in a food chain. Pyramid of biomass records the total dry organic matter of organism at each trophic level in a given area of an ecosystem. There are two types of biomass pyramids: the upright pyramid and inverted pyramid. An upright pyramid is one where the combined weight of producers is larger than the combined weight of consumers. An example is a forest ecosystem. While an inverted pyramid is one where the combined weight of producer is smaller than the combined weight of consumers. An example is an aquatic ecosystem. Pyramid of numbers. Pyramid of numbers is a graphical representation of the numbers of individuals in each population in a food chain. The pyramid of numbers represents the number of organisms in each trophic level. It can also be used to examine how the population of a certain species affects another. Pyramid of energy. Pyramid of energy represents the total amount of energy consumed by each trophic level. An energy pyramid is always upright, as the total amount of energy available for utilization in the layers above is less than the energy available in the lower levels. This happens because during the energy transfer from lower to higher levels, some energy is always lost, and it is measured in joules or calories. Ecological succession. Ecological succession is the changing sequence of communities that live in an ecosystem during a given time period. These changes are in order and capable of being predicted. There are two types of ecological succession: the primary succession and the secondary succession. The primary succession is a series of community changes which occur on an entirely new habitat which has never been colonized before. And the secondary succession is the series of community which take place on a previously colonized but disturbed or damaged habitat. And this ends our discussion about ecosystem. And now we're going to proceed to our next topic, which is biomes.